This is News Desk. I'm Amisi Nyamiche Thompson. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, Ashanti Regional Chairman of the opposition New Patriotic Party, Bernard Enchiboisiako, also known as Chairman Wontumi, spends the night behind bars after failing to meet a 25 million Ghana cedi bail sum imposed in two different cases before the Criminal Division of the High Court in Accra. We've got details on that. Plus, Member of Parliament for Ebuaka South bemoans lack of potable water in his area over the last 3 months, calls for urgent action to halt illegal mining. Also coming up, calls coming for upward adjustment of age limit for enlistment into the Ghana Armed Forces. We delve into that on our News Desk Plus business updates. Coming up, also Clinton Yeboah is Ghana's only hope at this year's West Africa Media Excellence Conference and Awards. We have more when we host the Media Foundation for West Africa. In our first story, Ashanti Regional Chairman of the opposition New Patriotic Party, Bernard Enchiboisiako, Chairman Wontumi, on Tuesday spent the night behind bars after failing to meet a 25 million Ghana cedi bail sum imposed in two different cases before the Criminal Division of the High Court in Accra. The embattled chairman has been placed on a stop list and banned from travelling abroad and is also accused of destroying 13 hectares of land in the Ningo-Prampram forest. These accusations are in a second case filed against Mr. Wontumi for allegedly engaging in illegal mining. Kwekwa Asante was in court all day yesterday covering these two cases, and here's his report.
Ashanti Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Bernard Enchiboisiako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, is facing two separate criminal cases of alleged illegal mining activities involving his company, Akonta Mining Limited. Both cases were heard at the High Court here in Accra, where he has pleaded not guilty to all the charges. Chairman Wontumi's legal troubles deepened this week when he appeared before the police CID, prior to being put before two different courts in Accra to answer a total of 13 charges, all linked to alleged illegal mining operations in the Ningo-Prampram Forest Reserve and Samreboy in the Western region. Chairman Wontumi and four others, including his Akonta Mining Company Limited, were arraigned on 7 counts of unlawful mining and environmental destruction. The prosecution alleged that Akonta Mining, under the direction of Chairman Wontumi and his associates, operated illegally within the Ningo-Prampram Forest Reserve in 2022, despite being denied a permit to do so. They are accused of destroying about 13 hectares of land, felling over 300 trees, and erecting buildings within the reserve without authorization. After hearing arguments from both sides, the court in this matter granted Chairman Wontumi bail in the sum of 10 million cedis with two sureties, one of whom must justify with landed property. Earlier in the day, Chairman Wontumi had appeared in another criminal court where he faced 6 separate charges for breaches of Ghana's mining laws. In that case, he was granted 15 million cedis bail with 3 sureties and placed on a stop list at all entry and exit points of the country. The court also ordered him to deposit his passport, report to investigators twice a month. The 6 counts in that case includes unauthorized assignment of mineral rights and facilitating unlicensed mining operations, which prosecutors say occurred within Akonta Mining's concession at Samreboy in the Western region. A second accused person, Kwame Entry, is currently at large. Both cases stem from investigations by the Criminal Investigations Department, which found evidence of large-scale destruction in parts of the Ningo-Prampram Forest Reserve. Officials say excavators bearing Akonta Mining's logo were used in operations that led to the extensive environmental damage, including river pollution and deforestation. Chairman Wontumi has maintained his innocence in both cases. Bernard Enchiboisiako has since failed to meet the bail conditions, at least for tonight, and will sleep in police custody.
What these bail conditions mean for NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman,
Wontumi, Bernard Enchibo is that until this trial, in which he is accused of facilitating illegal mining, is concluded, he is unable to travel outside the country, perhaps without the permission of the court. And any time he wishes to do so on any basis, he would have to apply to the court for the court to give him permission, or perhaps for the court to revise the bail conditions. But until then, Chairman Wontumi is not allowed to travel outside the country. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, High Court Complex, Accra.
Well, we're still trying to get updates on Chairman Wontumi, whether he's been able to meet his bail conditions. But we'll come back to that. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Bakwa South has bemoaned the lack of potable water in his area over the last 3 months. Dr. Kingsley Ejeman is asking for urgent action to halt illegal mining. He joins us via Zoom for a conversation on this. We're grateful for your time on our desk. Exactly what extent of damage has been caused in your area?
That the rivers or the waters are beyond treatment. That is why the Chibi treatment plant of the Ghana Water Company has shut down. To see man people without water, when it is usually agreed that water is life, means that we have to have a clarion call, and to see the open display of these excavators along major roads in the constituency, the impunity with which this is continuing is very disheartening. I'm frightened, and as a member of parliament, to see my people have a lot of renal, skin rashes, and waterborne diseases, it's not something that I can be excited about. I think it's about time that we, the constituents, have to come to the realization that this thing has really gotten us to our neck. We have to stop it, because those involved in this activity, the few greedy people, we the people who have good conscience, must rise up and stop this. We may not need any executive direction from the presidency. We are bearing the heat of what is happening to us. The sanitation issues that has arisen as a result of this galamsey is so much noticeable. We don't have water.
So you said there's no potable water in your constituency. How are residents coping? What sources of water is accessible to them now?
They are relying on sachet water, which is not sustainable. And even the disposable of this sachet, because it's not biodegradable, is something that is going to have a further knock-on effect on our environment. When we talk of the Brim River, even though its apex flows through the constituency, Accra enjoys a lot from it, because it feeds into the Weja, and the Weja feeds about 1/3 of Accra with water. So any problem that we are having by virtue of we drinking poison because of an NTU level of about 64,000 means that anybody in Accra is also affected in one way or the other. So it's a multiplicity or interconnectedness of the problem that requires for a multi-sectorial approach in the solution. For me, I'm urging my constituents that, guys, enough is enough. These galamseyers, we live with them in our communities. We see them in our community. We have given our households to them to rent. We know them. Everybody knows them. Wake up one morning from Esiakwa to Apedra, a distance of about, let's say, 15 kilometers. And you can count about more than 1,000 youth plying the road in search of galamsey. The openness, the open display, the impunity with which this is happening is disheartening. Anybody of good conscience should not be happy with what is happening.
Well, so Dr. Ajiman, so I get your concern, but really, what are the steps you're taking? The president has made it clear that he will only, declare a state of emergency when his security advisors ask him to do so. Right now, there's NIMOS going around the country ensuring that galamsey activities are kept. I mean, that's what we know for now. In your constituency, what other steps are you taking to ensure that this situation is brought under control?
I mean, what else can a member of parliament do apart from the advocacy role we are playing this morning? When the Ghana Water Commission issued its report to say that Esiakwa and its environs, the arsenic level or the mercury levels, the NTU levels in our river is about 64,000. Should it have even warranted the advocacy of an MP to call for an action? I think that the response is in the affirmative.
But you have some level of influence. You are a member of parliament. You create the laws for us to follow. There's some form of influence for people to implement those laws in your constituency. Is that being done in any way? At least you pushing that to be done?
Exactly, because I wouldn't have issued a press statement to promote or to invite for assistance if all was well. But to say that as a member of parliament, what is happening when all of us, we are aware of what is happening by virtue of the report from the Ghana Water Commission. And back to the presidency's the non-declaration of state of emergency, I think he's made a point very clear that he believes in economic opportunity rather than the longevity of our people, because the gold is giving is a forex and it's giving it's supporting the economy. But we are dying. We are dying. The people who belong to the NDC are dying. The people who belong to the NDC, MPP, my constituency, we are all dying. And the people in Accra, because of the knock-on effect, are also dying. Not to have water for 3 months because it cannot be treated. It's not something that should be treated with kid gloves. That's why I'm calling that we shouldn't wait.
What do you expect to be done now for your constituency? Because really, much has been said about Galamsey. We're still waiting to see the results, really. So what else should be done?
I'm appealing to my constituents that we can't look on, because by the time a decision is taken from Accra, all of us might have died. We may go extinct. Almost all of us might have died. So we have to stop it. We have to stop it. We should see this as a fight for the common good.
How will you stop it? How will you urge your constituents to stop this? Because, yes, you're advocating. You say you can't sit down to die. So what else can you do apart from advocating? Are these illegal miners, they are still there in your constituency, are they not?
They are here.
Yes.
They are here in the constituency now.
Yes.
So I'm appealing to my people that please, let's refrain from this activity. And when we say it's a fight all of us must be engaged in.
Are you engaging the chiefs in your constituents? Because we know that there have been calls for the chiefs to also come together and help win this fight. Really, if the chiefs, the DCs, the MCs, has there been any engagement between you and them to find a solution to this?
Everybody is aware of this situation. We are all witnesses, living witnesses to the impact, the adverse impact of this Galamsey activity. They are also not getting the water. They are also exposed to the skin rashes. They also suffer from the kidney issues. They are all witnesses. So we are lived experiences of the impact, the negative impact of this Galamsey. So we all look on to die, or we take an action to survive.
Well,
because it is better we come together as human beings to live together, or perish together in all humility as fools.
All right. Dr. Kingsley Ajiman, we're grateful for your time, and he's MP for Ibuakwa South, and lamenting on the impact of Galamsey in his constituency. Well, moving on, there have been calls for an upward adjustment of age limit for enlistment into the Ghana Armed Forces. Currently, GOV does not accept persons beyond 25 years. Communications Minister Sam George on Facebook wrote that that will be coming on your screen very shortly. He's been complaining about this. He says, I honestly believe it is time for our beloved nation to re-examine the maximum age for enlistment into our military services. There are people in their 30s who are physically fit and sound enough to serve their nation, we must not deny them this opportunity simply because of their age. There's a precedence across the world. I believe an upper limit of 35 years would serve our young people better. Let's nurture their dreams and not kill it for God and country. Well, also a Member of Parliament for South Diroxin, Nelson Dafiamapo, has weighed in. Let's analyze these calls with Colonel Festus Abwaje, retired. He's a security consultant. We're grateful, sir, for your time on our desk. What do you make of some George's suggestions that the age limit into the Ghana Armed Forces should be at most 35 years?
Well, thanks for having me, the protocol. First of all, I don't have a clear understanding of the context in which the minister made that pronouncement. I have the sense that he has assumed that maybe the armed forces is not having sufficient people to recruit, which is certainly not the case. That if you open up recruitment as the armed forces is doing now, you're going to have them in their tens of thousands. So if there had been a shortage of qualified material to recruit, then you could make an argument to expand the age bracket in order to bring in more eligible candidates. As we speak, that is not the case. However, the fact of the matter is that for the regular soldier, you recruit up to 25 years. Then you allow another 2 or so years, probably even 5 years, for professionals with scarce competencies. So like engineers and so on and so forth, for chaplains, I believe could even go higher than the 30. But if you're looking for the rank and file soldier and officer to serve, it's better to have them when they are young, so that they serve for about the 25 years as soldiers do. If they came in at the age of 20, let's say upper limit of 25, and they are going home after 25 years, they would have attained the age of, let's say, 50 years. If you increase that to 30, then you are increasing the upper limit where they run out of the date and they have to leave the service. So we are not too clear. I'm not too clear as to why the minister is making this pronouncement. Secondly, the fact of the matter is that as we age, we begin to experience health challenges. So if you bring in older people, it is likely to increase the health budget of the Ministry of Defense. Because many more people who are aged who end up at the military hospitals looking for this or that treatment. Thirdly, look at let's call it the social aspects of military service. If you expand that range now to 30, and you still allow the lower limit of, let's say, 20, then for each intake, whether they are soldiers or officers, you're going to have personnel who are, some are 20 years and some are 30 years, belonging to the same intake. So we can have in a platoon or a section older men and younger men. And it's possible that a younger person could be more competent professionally than the older person and will become the section leader or the platoon leader. You see what I mean? That social dynamic is not good for the system. This was decades ago when the white man left. Because the white man just went to the northern territories and then loaded people, the Mosis and so on, and brought them into the service, who were much older. So personally, my experience is that I don't understand the basis for that. I don't know whether it is emanating from the armed forces who are saying that we are facing challenges, finding the right numbers.
He believes that people aged 30 to 35 are competent enough, also young, very, astute to join the army.
So the rhetorical question is, the assumption in his statement is that they have not had the opportunity and must be given the opportunity. The question I'm asking is, when they were 20 years, or 21, or 22, 23, 24, 25, why didn't they seek the opportunity or seize it to recruit themselves or to be recruited into the armed forces? Why did they have to wait for another 5 years?
Maybe.
Let's assume that during the 5 years, they had attained professional skills. So we're allowing another 2 years for you to come in as a professional. We are not like America and the UK, where people are unwilling to join the service or services. So they are giving them inducements. Some will be promised higher education, some will be promised this. That is not the reality in Africa, where, by and large, we have a youth bulge, there is unemployment, and at any time that you want to recruit people into security services, you have far more than the numbers that you are looking for. So, sincerely, I don't understand the logic in the statement that he is making.
But are you open? Are you open to, at some point, a variation in the age, admission into the armed forces?
Why do you want to vary the age? You must be able to explain it scientifically or logically. Why do you want to increase the recruitment bracket?
Like you said, unemployment could be a reason.
Yeah, so I'm saying that why didn't they get themselves recruited when they were up to 25 years? Currently, as we are speaking, the armed forces is recruiting. Families and friends are buzzing my phone, one saying that, see the response from the armed forces. My son has, or my daughter has failed. And they have indicated a subject that caused a failure. Now, that relative wants me to call somebody in the army and tell them, no, please, so and so is mine. It doesn't work that way. I'm saying that the army has tens of thousands of people who want that experience. Going for a number. So let's use the opportunity when they are younger to join the and not wait until they are 30 years, 30, 40. I'm more concluding or trying to summarize that. The age health education. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
As I speak with you, at my about 75 class, my health used to be when, let's say, 25. The health education that I'm experiencing that decade or a decade ago. So if suppose you join the service, you're going to put issues, and then the medical bills of the soldiers will become the budget of the Ministry of Defense. You're going to have soldiers who will not be available to do because they have to attend to their health and so on. That is why now in Ghana, currently, it is necessary at all.
Well, Colonel, I seem to be losing you. Could you reposition yourself so that...
I'm sitting at the same place, but let's see whether...
Yeah, this is much better. This is much better. But before I let you off, there's this question that keeps coming up. The cutoff age is 25. We want to understand, there was an example of somebody who wasn't picked because the person was 25-year-old, 7 months, almost 26. What is the dynamics behind that? Is there something like that?
What is your first name, please?
Mami Esi.
Mami Esi, if you frame the conversation that way, then you are assuming that the person was not taken because he or she was 25 years and 7 months. Now, he or she was that age, comparative or in comparison or with several others who were young who are qualified. So it is not that qualified and you say, no, because your age, etc. Well, it is because you are looking for a batch. So if you people who are young qualified, why I want to disqualify the younger and then the older and ask the ones to wait? So I'm saying that this person is 25 years and months. What was he doing during the 5 years? Did she go to? And if then or she can go up to 20 based on professional qualification that he or she would have acquired. But remember that the armed forces is not a place for academics. We are not looking for people with high academic degrees. The type of work that we do, yes, we are doing master's program and so on, especially in the political context to understand the dynamics and so on, civil-military relations, how democracies work. That's about it. So the mere fact that you have a degree, maybe a master's, and you are 26 years, or let's say 30 years, does not mean that you'll be a better soldier or a better officer than the one who didn't have that. And I want Ghanaians to listen to me carefully. When they hear about General Erskine, the famous General Erskine, may he so rest in peace, he joined the army after O levels. Now, General Yido, for instance, joined as a soldier, and as a corporal, got upgraded to become an officer. But he was able to rise to become a general and a force commander in the international field. He has not, or he may not have done all of these fabulous international relations, but yet he performed. General Erskine performed, and several other officers. So if the military environment is a place where you're looking for people with academic excellence, then you give them time to acquire those academic qualifications. When they would have been older, then you recruit them. If we go for the statistics from the armed forces currently as to how many people have applied, they will be in the tens of thousands. When maybe all they are looking for is 1,000. You see what I mean? If you increase it to 30 years, you end up with 50,000, 100,000 people wanting to fill 1,000 positions. It's not necessary. It's just headache.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but there is no doubt that a 30-year-old could be fitter than a 20-year-old. But that is just a subjective view. It doesn't mean that all 30-year-olds will be fitter than all people who are younger.
Right.
But even if they are, as they age, they're going to have health issues, and the health issues will have implications for the mission readiness of the Ghana Armed Forces.
All right.
We can do a scientific study and see whether there is need now to increase the age to 30.
Right.
What the risks and what the benefits might be.
Right.
But for now, what the minister is saying, sincerely, I don't understand. As I said, I don't understand the context.
Right.
Whether the Ministry of Defense has said that they are not having the right numbers of people to recruit or whatever it is.
Thank you very much, Colonel Festus
Thanks for
Obaji,
having me.
retired. He's a security consultant. Well, away from that, the multimedia group's Clinton Yeboah is the only Ghanaian finalist in this year's West Africa Excellence Conference and Awards. WAMICA is an initiative by the Media Foundation for West Africa to promote media excellence in the sub-region this year. WAMICA is focusing on the theme journalism and digital public infrastructure in Africa. And we've been joined by Kweku Krobia and from Media Foundation for West Africa to tell us more about the awards. We're grateful for your time. And we also have Clinton Yeboah, multimedia journalist with us on the line. Let me start with Clinton. How do you feel being the only Ghanaian, still in the running for the top prize? Clinton, unmute and speak to us, Clinton. Well, while we establish contact with Clinton, let me speak to Mr. Krobia. Mr. Krobia, so Clinton happens to be the only Ghanaian in the scheme of affairs. What goes into the selection processes for Wameka?
Well, thank you very much. And if you can hear me, my regards to your viewers. It's a very tedious process, Mamiesi, and because of what we seek to do, honoring journalism excellence, we set the bar a little higher than many of the awards you may see around. This year we received about 800 entries from almost all the 16 West African countries. So that is English, French, Portuguese, right, across media forms. And we go through a number of screening processes, including first-level reviewers from very experienced editors, including some even people from the multimedia, some of your very top directors who will review at the first level. And then after that is done, then we take it to a grand jury, who will therefore look at the seeded entries and then select the finalists, and then determine the ultimate winner. So Clinton here happens to be the only Ghanaian, in the list of about 23 finalists selected across, well, now there are about 7 West African countries, including Anglophone and Francophone. And I think it is really impressive. In previous years, we've had journalists from multimedia, making up to the top, but unfortunately, this year it's only one Ghanaian, and it had to come from multimedia, of course. And
the best comes from multimedia.
Some of the good journalism that multimedia has been doing. Yes.
And this year's theme is journalism and digital infrastructure. Why this theme, really?
Well, we are at a very critical crossroads when it comes to digitalization across Africa. Even in our own Ghana, how many times haven't we been bombarded with the term digitalization?
Yes.
We are moving everything digital, but increasingly it raises concerns about, issues of transparency and accountability into the digital space. Who is manning that space? Who is controlling it? When it comes to data, who is putting it together? Today, if you want to go to the banks, it's about your Ghana card and nothing else. You want to go to the hospital, we take another card. Even now, passports are being embedded in with some digital elements. You go to the bank, the fintech areas. Previously, to transfer money from one bank to another would take days to reflect. But today, just a tap on your phone, a few details here and there, and it pops up in a matter of seconds. You're able to make the transfers. But it brings up the issue of transparency and accountability, as I did say, but the infrastructure that is emerging up, how well are the media capturing it? How well are the media also putting in their watchdog lenses to review those places? We've always asked, mobile money, for instance, what happens when somebody is deceased? I have about 5,000 on my thing. God forbid something happens to me or somebody who's close to me, the person passes. They may not even know how much money I had on my Momo because it's as private as it gets. Who oversees that? Who is held accountable for all those platforms? So that is what digital public infrastructure is about, looking at all the infrastructure elements that are popping up in our quest for development, in our quest for public services, and public goods.
Well, looking at the practice of journalism in the African landscape, especially talking about digitalization and all that, how fast are we, embracing it? Looking at our work, we also the issue of digitalization, competing against the traditional media this time around, and people often going to the digital landscape for news. How are we inculcating or embracing such that we don't lose out at all in the traditional media?
Yeah, that's right. Over the last few years, we've seen a lot of changes in the landscape, technology-wise. I dare say that for every media technology, equipment that is or item that is developed or introduced, it has its own ramifications or ball game for how we practice journalism. I think we have been doing well. One, trying to adapt and picking some good elements. Today we have what we call intermedia agenda setting, multimedia journalism, which is the name that you have taken upon yourself, so that when you are producing for an outlet.
Online and all
Yes, you
that.
have to think of online, you have to think of
Radio,
YouTube, how about
television, social media, and all
Facebook,
that. Yes.
TikTok, exactly. So we are catching up, but there's still more to do. There's also the other aspect of how it influences our own ethics, and professionalism. On the
Yes.
other side of the digital platform, that's what we call the news on demand. The digital platforms is go, 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 go. Everything is fast. The news is happening there. Somebody gets there, he turns on the camera and streaming live. But Mamiesi, you go there, you have to film, come back, edit, write the script, voice it, goes to an editor for them to look at it. And so you'll be tempted to say, maybe we should do it like the way the social media content creator does it. Immediately puts it out there, but then it raises concerns of, what is the standards? How are we keeping to our ethical standards?
Exactly. Who's keeping the gate? Yes.
Exactly. And so, that's also something that we need to be mindful. We have to find a fine balance on meeting the demands on the digital platforms and also meeting the ethics and professional standards that comes with processing story, through its procedural time so that the best comes out of it.
Well, I'll come shortly back to you on the awards itself and what to expect very briefly. But Clinton currently can hear us. Clinton, you're the only Ghanaian up for grabs for the top position at WAMECA. How do you feel about that? Clinton, can you unmute? Yes, I can hear you now.
Well, Mami, I feel extremely excited and I feel also very proud of myself. Just for the awards, but also the stories that I am telling and how it's receiving the recognition and the attention that that I am aspiring that the stories gets.
And very briefly, did you anticipate that you'll be here, considering the challenges that you faced in putting out your story? And for the sake of the viewers, if you could just briefly touch on the story that you presented.
Well, so, Mami, the story I presented has to do with Ghana's only central destitute infirmary. It's Ghana's only home for old people and people with disability, which is left rotten. And since 1957 that it was put up, no renovation has gone on. The people who are there, who are supposed to get the best experiences because they have been neglected by society and they think that they have been accepted into the facility and they are supposed to get better experiences, are actually exposed to the worst situations. An 80-year-old is raped every night by intruders from the community. And her story is just one part of it. There are several stories going on, human rights abuses in that facility that when it came to my notice, there was nothing I could do than to use the tool I have, which is my voice, and also the opportunity I have with multimedia to shed light on their situation.
All right. Right, great. Well, we wish you all the best at these awards. And Mr. Krabia, what should we expect on that day? What will go into it?
Well, I must say that as you may be aware, it's a conference and awards. The awards is one aspect of it, and it's a 2-day conference happening tomorrow on Thursday and Friday at Alisa Hotel. And the theme, as you did mention, is digital public infrastructure, journalism and digital public infrastructure in Africa. We have a lot of seasoned journalists, people from the tech field across Africa, people from, even the telecommunication field, including even MTN, discussing instant money payment system, transparency issues, accountability from that aspect. And so we'll do that for 2 days, Thursday and Friday. Then on Saturday evening, we'll have the awards itself,
Right.
where journalists All 23 of them have been invited, brought from across West Africa, and currently in Accra. In fact, Clinton, as you spoke with, is somewhere at Coconut Grove Hotel for a master class that we have organized for all the finalists, for this year's awards, to meet with some jury members, some seasoned editors across Africa, to speak to them on improving their journalism and the stories they report. And on Saturday, we'll crown it up, or honoring all the finalists and eventually choosing the winners of the various categories and the ultimate West African Journalist of the Year, Saturday at Alisa Hotel, October 11th, 7 p.m.
Right. It promises to be an exciting night. Thank you very much, Mr. Krobia, for your time on our desk. And you're still watching Joy News Desk. I am Amisi Nyamiche Thompson. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Joy News Desk, and Michelle is right here with business. Michelle.
Hi, Mamiesi. Now let's do some business. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Tourism Development Company, Professor Kobe Mensah, is calling for a stronger aviation sector to help drive growth in Ghana's tourism industry. Speaking to Joy Business at an event organized by Askai Airlines and Amadeus, which brought together CEOs of travel and tourism companies, Professor Mensah said improved air connectivity and competitive flight options are critical to attracting more visitors to the country.
Speaking to Joy Business at an event which brought together CEOs of travel and tourism companies, Professor Mensah highlighted the crucial role of aviation industry in supporting Ghana's tourism ambitions.
So we have set up what we call Ghana Tourism Investment Platform with a website called investintourism.org. We are listing places of touristic, investment, and then asking people to invest in that. So if you have a community and there's a river or there's a a heritage place that you think is worth investing in, just go to investintourism.org, take photos of those places, upload them and alert us. We'll follow up and then we'll come and profile that place and put it up, hoping that we can offer investors so many opportunities of tourism.
Regional General Manager of Amadeus, Jan Gilbert, said the goal is to connect more African destinations seamlessly and support the tourism value chain across the region.
Ghana is doing extremely well in terms of performance growth versus last year, and this is a bit different from the trend that we see in West Africa. So Ghana is doing much better than what it used to be, and I think Amadeus is benefiting from it because we are still gaining market share in Ghana. It means we are doing things right, I think, and Amadeus is there to support the travel agency and the airline in the travel ecosystem.
For Askai Airlines, the event was an opportunity to reaffirm its commitment to Ghana's travel market and the broader regional tourism agenda.
At Askai, what we try to do is to always provide a level of knowledge for the industry, because this industry is very fluid. At any given time, you would have to be ahead of technology. And Amadeus is one of the huge organizations in our industry that provides a lot of base for all the technological systems that we use. When you come to Askai, it's currently operating about 28 flights into Accra on a weekly basis. What it means is that almost every day we have 4 flights that connects into Accra.
With tourism seen as a major driver of Ghana's economic recovery, stakeholders agreed that strengthening the aviation sector will be key to unlocking the industry's full potential.
Now, away from that, a soil health and climate specialist at AGRA, Dr. Jeremiah Rogito, is calling on governments across the West African sub-region to step up support for farmers as they battle the growing impact of climate change. Speaking to Joy Business at AGRA Ghana's Policy and Community Engagement Workshop in Accra, Dr. Rogito said smallholder farmers remain at the front line of climate vulnerability and need stronger policy and financial backing to build resilience.
Workshop, Dr. Rogito said Smallholder farmers remain the most vulnerable to climate shocks and need stronger government policies and financial support to build resilience.
Part of the workshop that we gathered here today, we've been able to convince stakeholders drawn from various parts, various ministries, various institutions that are really working within the climate space. You appreciate that climate change is a big concern, and particularly here in Ghana, we're seeing the increased heat waves, changing weather patterns, and therefore it becomes very important for us to be able to come up with tools and initiatives that help us to be able to come up with methodologies to assist our farmers to be able to better adapt to the climate change crisis.
Senior researcher at Mathematica Global, Anthony Harris, emphasized that collaboration among government, private sector players, and research institutions is crucial to achieving sustainable agricultural growth in the face of climate change.
Well, this is a tool that will be very important for decision makers and policy makers at all levels to give them information at a high spatial resolution of where areas are vulnerable and where areas are exposed to current climate change risks as well as potential risks into the future, and ideally support them in making decisions about where to invest in adaptation and where to invest.
With climate change threatening food security across the sub-region, AGRA and its partners say supporting farmers through science, policy, and innovation remains critical to ensuring a sustainable agricultural future.
And that will be all for business. I am Michelle Ejeku Mamiesi.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for that. We'll see you again tomorrow. Now, in Ghana, one sickness can take away not just health, but the little savings a family has built over the years of hard work. Now, medical bills can drain pockets and sometimes hope itself. But in the northern region, one young woman and her team are proving that change doesn't have to come in millions of cedis. Sometimes it begins with one cedi at a time. From despair to determination, from isolation to inspiration, this is how a youth-led movement is rewriting the story of healthcare access in rural Ghana.
In Ghana, one illness can push a family into poverty. This is the story of young people who are saving lives one cedi at a time. Their work gave a second chance to a boy named Omar and to many others. For 2 years, Hansawu watched helplessly as her little boy Omar suffered from a swollen stomach. Doctors could not explain it. Money had run out. Hansawu turned to begging in the market.
To be honest, it's not easy for me to share this experience. Before the surgery, I appealed for funds at the market square, and people generously contributed what they could, some as little as 1 Ghana cedi. Despite their support, I struggled to gather approximately 1,100 Ghana cedis, which only covered the initial diagnostic scan. Unfortunately, the doctor later informed me that the scan wasn't done properly, so we had to do it again.
Finally, doctors diagnosed Omar with a rare condition that affects the large intestine. Doctors say the intestine becomes blocked, leading to symptoms like constipation, vomiting, and abdominal swelling. Surgery was the only hope, but the cost, 10,000 cedis, was impossible for a poor mother.
The doctor informed me that I needed to pay 4,000 Ghana cedis for the surgery. I had to appeal for funds again for the second surgery, having initially paid 7,500 Ghana cedis. I was aware that additional bills would be incurred before discharge, and I also had to cover the cost of medication.
At her breaking point, help came from unexpected place, a youth-led group called My Hereafter Project, led by Halima Sadia Nuhu.
We believe that when health is not the key focal point of a community, they lost a lot because no other intervention or no other developmental intervention will actually gain roots when the people are not healthy.
Through digital crowdfunding, CD by CD, they raised the money. Today, Omar is recovering and smiling again.
Honestly, I don't think my own efforts would have been enough to save my child. It was their kindness of my hereafter that contributed financially that truly made the difference and saved my child.
Omar is not alone. In Dalongiri, another child, 2-year-old Nasara, was born with a rare condition that stopped him from urinating. His father sold everything.
Only Allah can truly reward their kindness. Their help was instrumental in saving my child's life. Without it, my husband and I wouldn't have been able to afford the necessary treatment. May Allah abundantly reward them for their generosity.
Further south in Kumasi, 3-year-old Giovanni was bleeding from his head. His mother, Mary, spent all her savings.
My hereafter, any more members, normally leaders,
heartfelt thanks go to the leaders, members, and entire team at my hereafter. Your generosity has given me the precious gift of seeing my child smile today. I'm forever grateful for your kindness and support.
The group raised 19,000 cedis for his surgeries and even gave Mary money to restart her fish business.
Sometimes 100 cedis.
From the sales, I am able to make a profit of about 100 Ghana cedis, which enables me to provide for my children's needs, including food, medication, and hospital bills. The income has been a lifeline for us.
And sad story there, but a happy one as well, because some help is coming through. But that'll be all for our desk today. We'll be back tomorrow with more.
100,000.